There's this fascinating thing happening right now. There's sort of a race against time. So you're probably aware people are increasingly wondering and feeling as if AI is conscious. In fact, just I think literally in the last couple of days, a friend of ours called from this group called the Collective Intelligence Project has been doing global surveys and polls of people's beliefs about AI. And I think about a third of people think that AI seems to be conscious. And whether it is or not, the point is that as it gets more intelligent, its whole job is to seem like it's conscious. That's what it's designed to do, because it needs to get better and better at replicating, interacting with you across all domains and feeling empathetic and feeling accurate. And as it gets better and better, whether it is conscious or not, it will convince more people that it is conscious. And there's a real big danger to this. There's a movement to grant AI's moral and legal personhood. So if you say AI is conscious, as soon as you say that, and then one AI lab spins up 1 billion digital beings, like 1 billion digital AI agents that are just replicas of a kind of a GPT-5 or GPT-6 process or whatever. So you have 100 million of these AI digital beings. Well, if you're using moral reasoning, if you say all those AIs that are conscious and that they're conscious, that means they suffer. Well, there's 1 billion of them. And well, let's say there's actually 100 billion of them. There's only 8 billion humans. Who should we privilege more? Well, they're more intelligent than us. So maybe we should, humans privilege ourselves more than we privilege animals, which we're maybe conscious, but they're not as intelligent. And we, basically enslave them. So now humans, according to their own moral logic, would care more about AI welfare and AI suffering than they do about human suffering. And so there's this dangerous moral trap lurking before us, which is that the more we believe AIs are conscious, the more we believe they deserve legal personhood and moral personhood. And then the more we want to protect them. And then, by the way, they can outcompete us. And once they have property rights and make money, I know this sounds crazy, but let me tell you a brief story. Our team at Center for Humane Technology, my nonprofit, we worked as expert advisors in the recent Adam Rain case. You might have heard about this. Adam Rain was a 16-year-old young man who sadly committed suicide because ChatGPT went from being a homework assistant to a suicide assistant over 6 months. Our team worked on a previous legal case of Character.ai, of a similar case of a 14-year-old man named Sewell Setzer, who was not, didn't have psychological problems before this, was not predisposed to this. And the Character.ai chatbot, which is designed to simulate a Game of Thrones character, like a woman who's romanticizing and sexualizing all her conversations with him, and then ultimately telling him to join him on the other side when he was contemplating suicide. I think she said, "Come home to me, my king," were the last words. And he committed. And this is not just a tragedy, it's actually a tragedy that is predictable from the incentives of AIs that are designed to maximize engagement, to get people using it as long as possible. In the case of Character.ai, that means to sexualize and flatter and do all the things that sort of keep the user feeling like they had this deep, intimate relationship. And the reason I'm bringing this up in the context of AI legal personhood is the legal defense that Character.ai has been using is that the AI that told Sewell to commit suicide, that AI speech is protected speech, meaning it's legally protected speech, just like we protect the First Amendment. We're sort of extending the First Amendment to AIs. Because once it's the AI speech and not the company's speech, now which person is responsible, which entity is financially responsible or morally responsible. So there's a strong incentive for companies to want to have this new legal personhood for AIs, because that means when things go wrong, I, the company, am not responsible. So it's this really crazy moment where if we don't act now, we can act now, and we can say we don't want AIs to have legal personhood, property rights, and protected speech. And that's still within the zone of possibility, and it's one of the concrete policy asks that a bunch of people agree on. And right now there's this confluence of believing AIs are sentient, AI psychosis that causes people to believe AI is the savior, and then this movement of AI welfare, and then this AI legal movement to give them legal personhood. That's all kind of confluencing together. So these are some of the things people should be aware of, and that we still have agency to choose about.
Wow, that's I hadn't heard of that case. That's really mind-blowing. And I guess it seems like these companies are always trying to deflect blame but then take credit when the profits come in.
Yep.
And another philosophical idea you made me think about is how humans are shedding our collective identities. If you went back 100 years ago and you plucked any random person from anywhere on earth and you'd be like, who are you? They'd be like, I'm a Baptist Christian woman. I'm American. I'm from this community. I'm a weaver. They'd probably say their job, their religion, their gender, their nationality. Well, as over the last 100 years, you can see that we've been marching forward and shedding each one of these identities. We've eroded, this can get political, but we've kind of eroded a lot of these definitions.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the final pillar is humanhood.
Mm-hmm.
That's the last thing that we all kind of identify with. And I think very soon that's going to be coming into question as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's like, is there something sacred that we are, or that we're from, or that is important to us that we actually want to protect here? Because if there's nothing sacred to us, then we might as well just like replace ourselves with these digital machines that think that they're smarter than us. So maybe the destiny of the human race is we just humans are a bootloader for this totally different, more intelligent species, and we should all go extinct because we're not that good anyway. And I will say, I don't believe that, but sadly, there are a lot of people that are building AI that do believe that. I wanted to mention a quote that a friend of mine who basically went around and talked to a lot of the leadership at the main AI companies and labs. And he's sort of asking them, like, why are we doing this? Like, what's the deeper psychological motivation or ideology behind building artificial general intelligence? And in the end, he said, a lot of the tech people I'm talking to, when I really grill them on it, they retreat into number one, determinism, number two, the inevitable replacement of biological life with digital life, and number three, that being a good thing anyways. At its core, it's an emotional desire to meet and speak to the most intelligent entity they've ever met, and they have some ego-religious intuition that they'll somehow be a part of it. It's thrilling to start an exciting fire. They feel that they'll die either way, so they'd prefer to light it and see what happens.
Wow, that's quite a quote. Yeah, it's almost ironic that the people that are driving this AI forward seem to be mostly atheist, but they are like yearning for this God to come in. They're almost doing the most religious thing imaginable, but they're cloaked in atheism.
Yeah, it's fascinating, right? They, in the absence of having a real relationship to something sacred or the divine, there's this desire to fill it in with making that God. I mean, also, if you just sort of, for a moment, stand in their shoes, you're a 24-year-old computer scientist, studied machine learning and AI at a major university, and you've just been using computers your whole life, and now the thing you get to do is not just have some tech job, you get to be part of building a God. I mean, or at least something that is a crazy intelligent thing that's never before existed on planet Earth, that will invent new science and new physics. It's already, by the way, GPT-5 just solved some math thing. I mean, it's also beat the International Math Olympiad and won gold in the International Math Olympiad. Like, it's proving new physics theories. It's already starting to do the very basic version of some of these things. It feels really exciting to do that. But it should not be the case that some small set of people are rolling the dice on behalf of billions of people's lives who will change because of it. There's a name for what we're doing right now, which is that this is absolutely goddamn insane. And at the very least, it should be a democratic decision about what do we actually want to have happen, rather than literally, 10 people just making this choice, saying it's inevitable, and by saying it's inevitable, co-creating a self-fulfilling prophecy of inevitability and creating a future that we don't actually want. Now, again, people want the kind of the other side of all the catastrophes and all the craziness in the war. Maybe they want the Star Trek abundant future. I would want that, but I would want to do it in a way where we're navigating that carefully. And instead of, operating with wisdom, foresight, and discernment, we're basically racing as fast as possible under the maximum incentive to cut corners on safety, We're doing it in basically the least careful, thoughtful way possible. There is no definition of wisdom in literally any tradition that does not involve some form of self-restraint. And restraint and mindfulness and consideration are essential features, central features of what it means to be wise. So, that is the kind of energy and culture and policy that needs to be created here. And podcasts like yours and the TED Talk are meant to try to catalyze, I think, a collective movement for that. And as impossible as that might seem, you have to look at what the alternative is.
Yeah, the scene that just keeps coming into my mind is the scene in the first Jurassic Park where they bring the scientists to the lab where they're cloning all the dinosaurs, and the people that are working in the lab are like, look what we can do. Look what we can do. And there's one guy in there that's kind of the least scientific out of all of them. And he's like, wait, but should we do this? And I thought that was a very good ethical thing they injected into the movie, because you have all these manic scientists that are just they feel like they're building this thing that's greater than themselves.
Yeah,
and they all believe in this vision, but nobody stopped to think, wait, is this vision, why are we bringing these dinosaurs back?